For almost any normal car, weather like this would really put a damper on my plans to show you around. But this is Hyundai's new Palisade, and it's absolutely bloody enormous. And that means I've got enough room to show you around without leaving its cavernous cabin at all. This walking tour of Hyundai's new flagship starts here. For a start, there is this massive digital display in the middle, more than 10 inches wide, giving me all the access I need to information and entertainment systems. And it's flanked by some really lovely design touches. I've got this kind of boat decking style trim, an optional extra there, and this lovely sort of dark blue leather. The seats are upholstered beautifully. It's really punching above its weight already, and definitely goes up against some much more expensive rivals.
Dominating the front row is a flying buttress center console that Hyundai calls the control center. It keeps all the switches close to hand, but also offers lots of space underneath and wireless charging. A 7-inch digital display between the gauges cleverly covers the blind spot on both sides of the vehicle when changing lanes.
But there's plenty more to look at in the second row. This is the Highlander, which means you get the option to have captain seats for a really luxurious feel, and just 2 seats in the second row, but you can get a 3-seat bench if you want. There's tons of headroom. I've got this lovely panoramic sunroof above me and privacy glass, but there's 2 cup holders here, heated and ventilated seats, USB charging cleverly inside of the front seats. I really do feel very well looked after.
Second row seats are adjustable even when the bench seat is optioned, and there are lots of luxury touches, including window blinds for extra privacy and sun protection. High quality leather and suede is everywhere.
There's also ISOFIX child seat anchor points in both of these seats and the back. And one advantage of these captain seats is I don't have to take that baby capsule out to access the third row. Now, in many 7 and 8 seaters for that matter, the third row might feel a little bit neglected, but back here I've got lighting, I've got cooling vents, more USB charging points, and more cup holders too. This is one of the most practical and comfortable third rows I've ever sat in. The Palisade, therefore, is big. 5 meters long and 2 meters wide, if you're wondering. But one of my favorite things about it is once you get out on the road, it really doesn't feel like that. One of the reasons it pulls off that trick is because of the visibility. It's so good in here. The bonnet drops away quickly to make it feel like short and easy for maneuvering, and the glass house is massive. I really feel like I've got a good idea of what's going on around me. But even in the city, somehow it pulls off the same thing. And that's thanks to lots of driver assistance and maneuvering aids. I've got this lovely big display here that gives me tons of information, and even if I feel a car this size is a bit unwieldy, that gives me the confidence to go places others might not. This particular Palisade has the 2.2 litre turbo diesel. Now, are you feeling as uncertain about that engine size as I am? Doesn't sound like enough for a car this size, but actually it's surprisingly good. 440 Newton meters is more than enough to breeze this thing along with more liveliness than I was expecting. And only occasionally do you hear that classic diesel anthem from under the bonnet. Otherwise, it's really smooth and very quiet, at all speeds, in fact. You might argue the 3.8 V6 you get as an option is perhaps a little smoother and quieter, but I'd be more than happy with this. It's also the most efficient at about 7.2 litres per 100 kilometres. And another feather in this model's cap, perhaps the best thing on the road, is its ride. It is silkily smooth and gives the cabin an almost limousine-like feel. In fact, gliding along some of these country roads, I'm starting to feel like I should compare this to some seriously expensive hardware. BMW X7? Mercedes GLS? A Lexus? Okay, those cars are a lot more money and you do get a lot more for your cash. But the Hyundai, it gets close. It doesn't have quite the performance or perhaps the sporty handling of some seriously expensive options. But the troubling thing with this car is when it comes to its rivals. What do you compare this car with? 8 seats, you're looking at maybe something from the Hyundai stable, the iMAX. But that's a van with seats, as is the Toyota Granvia, another van. You could even look to the sister brand Kia and its Carnival. And although that is a very good model, it feels very much like a people mover. This, it's an SUV. It's got four-wheel drive, it's got good ground clearance, it's got the proportions and the styling of an SUV. So what does it compare with? If you're after a plus-size SUV that can accommodate up to 8 people inside, doesn't feel like a van, doesn't look like a people mover, and sits comfortably the right side of $100,000, you've got one choice.